So, welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here. If you're just joining us for the first time, I hope you find this to be a really good use of your time. If you've been here before, welcome back. We love seeing everybody on Fridays. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos on legal technology talk. All these videos, so you know, are recorded and they will be available no later than Monday after the Friday open coaching. So we're just going to continue our series in deep dives and how automation can really help your firm. So I'm going to let Beth take it from here.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about two things, client experience um, and their evaluations and maintenance programs. So some firms have ongoing maintenance programs and call them many different things, but today we're going to talk about those things. So first is client experience. So why? Why do you want to do this? Well, one thing is you want to make sure that you provide the clients that you want to be able to give you things like a Google review, Yelp reviews, things like that. So you want to be able to send that out to them, and allow them to do that. But you don't want to rely solely on that for your actual evaluation of your process, and you want that feedback from your clients. So even if their experience wasn't great, you still want that feedback, but you don't necessarily want that all out there for everyone. And so this gives you a way to do that and also have all of your data internal so you can see it and report on it and use it to make improvements in your firm, because we're all about continuous improvement and using metrics to be able to drive that continuous improvement. So we're going to use Dear Jesse James here as our sample. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use a close form to be able to send this out to Jesse. And what we wanted, the whole reason for doing this is being able to, I'm sorry, I'm like running my stuff to the side. Um, um, is being able to go ahead and send this out to him, close the matter. I can choose whether or not I want to request a Google review or not. And I'm just going to turn that on so it'll request that Google review and submit that form. And then that goes off to Jesse. And what that does is it sends him an email, and in that email, he will get a link to this. I'm just going to go ahead and open this. I'm not going to wait for that to come into my email because apparently it wants to be very slow this morning. And this is tell us what you think. And it has information up here at the top. And then it's asking them to rate all of these following categories with 5 to 1 and how this information is coming in. So, how easy was it to get a hold of us? Um, how accurate were we with setting expectations? What about response to questions? How was our knowledge of legal matters? How did they feel that was? How was our communication? Was it clear and easy to understand? What about timely communication? What about our quality of work and timely delivery? And how do you feel about your value compared to the cost? And our comfort level in dealing with our team members? How was all that? And then it asks them some things. If we could improve one thing, what would that be? What did you like most about working with us? What did you like least about working with us? And please provide any additional suggestions to improve our client satisfaction. And then would you be willing to give us a testimonial? And so a testimonial is just this. They can give all of this, and then they can also select if we have their permission to share that testimonial. Because I said he can leave it a review on Google, right here is you can leave a review by clicking here. That takes you to your Google or whatever they are, to be able to leave a review. We appreciate your feedback and look forward to serving you. Again, should you need our services, and submit it, and off it goes. Now, all of those questions can be customized. Those are the default questions that are in there, but you could absolutely customize those questions to various things. Now, in the matter itself, it will go in and it'll add that information in there. That form was filled. Here's all of that information. It has a PDF in here. But the nice thing about this is if you're sending a paper review to someone, when that comes back, you need to look at all of these. Need to look at all these pieces of paper to get that information. And with this, you don't, because in the weekly report that comes with the PCM, it actually has the evaluation data in there. And you can look at different time frames and see your overall client satisfaction for this time. Nothing else needs done to generate these numbers. They will go in there. You can separate this by your practice areas. You can look at it by different attorneys. You can see all that. And you can look at the reviews in different areas and see all of this that comes into play. And you can break it down by your categories. So we categorize those questions. So those are all in there. And you can see how well you're doing for different categories. Then we can look at the reviews. And these are the reviews that we have permission to share, which also means that you can go in here and grab this and you can export this data and send it out into an Excel sheet. And you can then send that to your web designer and say, hey, here's our testimonials that we can put on our website. And these are reviews without permission, the ones that they gave you that they don't want you to share. And then you have your suggestions. So you can see all of the ones that submitted anything and their suggestions and what this is. Now I'm looking at a very large sampling here, but you can see all of the things that they've given to you. So this allows you to get that information, even if you don't want that person necessarily to go out and give you a Google review, because we all know that there are some people who you can do everything that you possibly can, and they're not going to be happy. So you do not want those to be, you don't want to give them that extra push to go to Google and leave you a review, but you do want their feedback because you do want to know how to improve from there on. So we want the good and the bad, and this allows you to get that without putting that all out there, and also being able to get suggestions from your clients and all of that information. So that is how that client review process works. And it can work off of that client close form. If you have a separate form that you use to close a matter, it can work off of that. It can be triggered at different parts of the process. Maybe you don't want to wait till you close the matter. Maybe you want to do that after a sign meeting and you're not worried about, if the funding is completed yet or anything like that on estate plans. You can absolutely do that and send it at that point. That is very flexible, but you really want to be able to get that information back in there. John, do you have anything to add about the client experience review process?
Just two things real quick. The one is that you actually get your client satisfaction score, which is absolutely crucial. Without that, you can't move anywhere. And now you can set actionable goals. So you can say by the end of next quarter, we want to raise that by 7%. Um, Always set your goals within reason. Don't say we're going to increase it by 50% in 2 weeks, but 5, 7%. And then you can actually measure, did you do that? So that number is really, really important. And then once you get your satisfaction score up, you can actually start advertising that. saying we have a 97% satisfaction score with our clients. And, that's really great marketing. And you can back it up with data. So you're not lying, you're not making up numbers. Um, the other thing, Beth, some people are going to ask, can we do this in other practice management systems?
Currently, no. This is kind of an exclusive into in your Lawmatics.
Can
Um,
you explain why that is for a second?
yeah. Simply because Lawmatics has two things. It has automation and the forms. So both of those things work together in this. And when they work together, that form feeds that information into the matters, and the automations uh, send those out. You can put reminders behind those. You can handle all of that. If you were to do this externally, you would need various programs to do it. You would need a form program, you would need a database that it goes into, and you need a way to get it from that database into a Power BI report. Like you would need all of these different things to do it, where Lawmatics, it's all built in. It's automations and forms. It runs and does its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the only two things I had.
Okay. So the next thing that we're going to go into is maintenance program. And John, do you want to explain a little bit about what a maintenance program is?
Yeah. So
You're
a
better
lot of
informed.
people have a maintenance program, and you may identify with it just by a different name. Some people don't, and I would encourage you to start one because first, it's amazing for the customer, for the client, and it's a it can be a really massive revenue stream. Is what they are is ongoing support after work is complete, especially in areas like estate planning, things like that. And it's usually an annual membership fee. You can have different tiers that offer different benefits, but it's typically things like you're going to offer an annual maintenance review where they're going to come in and you're just going to make some pretty basic changes to their plan, not overhaul it, but you'll just keep their plan updated with life changes. You can offer updates on the law, a workshop every month or every year, like just one. These are all the laws that changed, and you can have an in-person big thing where everybody gets to meet each other and you have a lunch or a dinner or something. Um, it's just all these really great benefits um, that engages the client to keep their what they hired you for up to date. And that's really what's important. It's also going to encourage them to keep you top of mind when they have other legal services, or refer to other people. So it's multifaceted. The problem, and Beth, I'm gonna share the pain point. The pain point of a maintenance program is the paperwork and the billing. Um, Somebody the other day mentioned that they spend weeks a year just on the billing and preparing it and sending it. And then just the paperwork and all of this stuff. That's the pain point that if you're running a maintenance program, you've already felt it. If you haven't started a maintenance program, but you want to, you're going to feel it. And this was the solution to that pain point.
Okay, so we're going to use good old Jesse James here. Um, and we are going to start his maintenance enrollment management. And this brings up his information, all of his stuff from his matter, and you can add other things in there. And then uh, you can do several things. You can manually enroll a member and bypass all automations. When you have bypass automations, it means none of the automations are going to run. So you can still have them in your statistics and your information, but this is someone who you're going to handle with kid gloves. And we put this in here because we found out that a lot of firms have people like that. that you're handling them with kid gloves. You're doing everything manual just because they're a VIP client and that's what you do. So you can turn that on or off. If they are a legacy member, a member that you're not charging. And we also found out that some firms have those. So you have people who, you have given a maintenance program to them for free for whatever reason. So what this does is it continues to do everything else for the maintenance program, but it does not fire invoices. It doesn't send them bills for that. Everything else will work as it is supposed to. Then we have our member status. So there's several member statuses here. You can put people in here if they don't want maintenance. If you've offered it to them and you don't want maintenance, you can put that in there so you can track that number. If they cancel per their request, you can put that in there. And canceled non-renewal is they didn't pay. That is when they're canceled non-renewal. And then we have three other ones here. An active member, if they're in their renewal period, which you will not put them in the renewal period, the system will do that automatically, or their first year of membership. So if we select the first year of membership, it tells you that an invoice will be created and immediately sent to the client. So if they've already paid for their maintenance or you have that check in hand, you do not want to put them into first year membership. You actually want to put them into active because they're an active member. And if they're existing, they're going to go in there as active, and again, if you have that payment in hand, that's where they're going to go. Do you offer a free period? Some people do. Some people have an annual, like they do all of their invoicing in a certain month. They may do it all in January. They may do it all in August or whatever else. And they'll offer it free up until that, or they may offer the first year free. In any case, you're doing that free period and you're going to select your first invoice date. This is the first time an invoice can be sent out. We don't set this to a certain because we want you to have the flexibility. So if you're a firm that say invoices August every year, you're going to select that first invoice date of August of next year, when that is going to happen. Or if you're doing it various times throughout the year, you're going to go ahead and select whatever that is the following year. What this means is this is the first time they will get an invoice. Actually, 6 weeks before this is the first time they'll get an invoice. Um, and then their initial enrollment date, when did they start their maintenance program, whether that is today or, they've been a member for 5 years. What level do they have? Just if you only have one option, you use one. We've given you the option of 3 different levels in there. And then what is their renewal date? So now let's talk about what renewal date is. For new members, it'll be the date of the next renewal. So if you're someone who only bills in August, and I don't know why I've picked August, but if you only bill in August, your next membership renewal date will be August of next year. If you're doing this annually and you're going 1 year from the sign date, and their sign date was today, then it would be September 9th of 2026. That's what you would put in there. And I'm going to go ahead, or 19th. We're going to put him in here as tier 1, and we're going to do the initial enrollment date is today. And then it gives you the ability to put a maintenance note in there. And I'm going to go ahead and put him in as a first year membership. And we're not giving him any free. We're not doing anything free for this guy. But you can add added to maintenance. Just a note that goes in there. That is a file note. So now Mr. Jesse James, because this up here is empty. Because he doesn't have any of this stuff going on. And we'll submit that form for him. And here's his maintenance note. It is added a note into his file notes there, and it has sent all that in. And then it goes and it will do several things. So let's talk about what the automations actually do. For a first-time member, it sends an invoice if there's no free period. Because they're a first-time member, here you are, here's your invoice. Again, if you have that invoice in hand, I mean, you have that payment in hand, you don't do that. And then it goes and it sends invoice and reminders starting at 6 weeks prior to the renewal date. All right. So 6 weeks prior. So if someone has a renewal date of June 30th, somewhere around May 15th, it's going to it'll create an invoice. It will do several things. It will set them into they're in a renewal period. So you have that in tracking. It will send the invoice off to them, and it'll start a series of reminders for that. 2 weeks prior to the renewal date, it can notify staff to say, hey, they haven't paid yet. So if you want to make a call to them or whatever, you can absolutely do that. It honors a free period and sends the reminders to schedule an annual review, but doesn't send invoices. Because the other thing that it does is it sends reminders to them to schedule an annual review. It sends it at 1 month after the renewal, 4 months, 7 months, 10 months, all the way through there. So that's 8 weeks before their next renewal date. It can go through there and remind them for that. It stops when they schedule their annual review for this cycle, for that. And then it automatically ends the free period when you put that date in there at the end of their free period, whatever that is. It stops and starts sending them the invoices then and goes on. It marks them inactive if they're not paid 1 day after the renewal date and sends them a letter. And all of that. You can turn off invoices for the members that you mark as your legacy clients, the ones that you're going to give it to them for free forever. They get all of the other benefits, and they don't get any invoices or things like that. And it'll auto change their date as their date comes up. So what happens if Mr. Jesse James is he's not paid? And now it's 2 months later and he calls in and goes, hey, I forgot to pay. I was going through my email and I see I was canceled. Can I pay? Yeah, you can absolutely pay. So you can go in here and you can reactivate him. You can go into, sorry, you can go back in here and reactivate him and do all of that stuff again. It can do all of that. Send out now, you're going to send him out a new invoice. He's going to pay that invoice and keep going. So yeah, so you can do all of that. Now, what happens when they update? So when they update, and I should have kept that open. When they update, it marks them as paid, marks them as an active member, goes through, does all of that. And it can send this form to your client services or whoever's in charge of your maintenance. And it will tell you all of their stuff and when they last renewed. So that's the last time that they paid that invoice because it tracks that for you. And you then make sure that this is set to active and change the membership renewal date. So if his membership renewal date was actually today and he paid this, then we would update it to the next year. This first does a couple things. It allows you just to have a set of human eyes on it, but this is the only thing really manual that you need to do, except for those people that you're handling with kid gloves and you're doing that separately. And when you do this and submit this, it will update all of that information for you and make sure this is updated. So in the matter itself, it has this information. All of that is like in the matter and running and doing its thing. In it also, you have reporting. So we have in our reports, we have several things. We can track all of our active members and see who our active members are, what their renewal date is, their maintenance start date, all of this information, any information you can pull into there. The other thing we can pull in is are active members that are a postal send. So those people that don't have an email that this is not going to automatically work for, you now have a list of those that you need to handle manually. And then it also shows you your outstanding invoices for maintenance. So as you're going through, everyone who is in that 6 week period of being invoiced and they haven't paid yet, all of this will show you your outstanding maintenance invoices that are out there. The other thing it does, completely automatic, it handles your active maintenance members audience so that you can send newsletters for just your maintenance people, and it updates that audience automatically. If they're an active member, if they're in their renewal period, or they're in their first year membership, you all of those things go in, and that audience is updated automatically. You don't need to add people, take people away, all of that. You can handle that, can handle all of your emailing for your maintenance newsletters, sending an invite to an event, all of that. You can use a specific audience for that in Lawmatics. Okay, so John, do you have anything to add to that?
Of course, I always do.
Of course.
So a really nice thing is LM Pay. If you're using Lawmatics and you're not using LM Pay, I highly encourage you get that. With LM Pay 2, they've added some really powerful features, including auto pay. The client can click and say they want to auto pay invoices, an invoice. So that's really nice that then you're not worried about every year and you can just send notifications that it's going to auto withdraw on this date. That definitely reduces cancellations of membership. The other thing that the word that always comes to mind because we've been working on this automation setup for months and months and months. And the word that keeps coming to mind is autopilot. Once you put somebody in maintenance in the typical fashion, I'm not talking about the kid gloves or they don't have an email address, things like that. I'm talking about they're just a standard member. They have an email. Um, it's just autopilot. Once you enroll them, it's going to bill them every year automatically. It's going to change their maintenance status. You don't have to update your lists. When the attorney asks, "Can I just get a list of all our maintenance clients?" for anything, you can just pull that list. And budgeting. You can budget what is coming in. Very easy. And you can say, in June, we're going to have $15,000 from maintenance coming in because that's the renewals. Or if it's every year, just once a year at the same time every year, you can say this year we're going to anticipate about $172,000. That is absolutely phenomenal. And that's where a lot of people are kind of missing in the maintenance because of the paperwork, the mountains of invoices, the tracking, the Excel sheets. It's
Yeah.
absolutely overwhelming. We have we had a client that had, I think, 3,500 maintenance members. Imagine doing that by hand. This just goes on autopilot. So that's my thought on this, that it really does save time that you can focus on preparing really cool events for your clients that are maintenance members. You can focus on calling them and asking them how their plan is going for them. You can actually do things that are client centric, which is usually why the attorney had started the office anyways, and you can get back to that. That's about all I had on this. Just autopilot is the word that comes to mind.
Okay. John has a link that if you want to talk about this, there is a link that he's going to put in the chat and down below this video for you to do a 20-minute session to talk about it, not a full discovery and things like that, but we can chat about this if you are a current client or not of ours, you are more than welcome to schedule that, and we can show you a little more in depth of what this does.
Yeah, and I just want to
Yeah,
clarify that if you have Lawmatics right now and you're not a client of ours, you built everything out. These are overlays that
correct.
we can put in. And then please know that we go in and customize it to how your program works. We can change terminology to a degree.
Correct.
And there are certain things we can do that make it your program or your client review, such as Beth said, we can update questions and things like that. Um, so yeah, even if you're not a client and you have Lawmatics and it's all built out, you're happy as could be, this can just be added right into your system.
Correct.
Um, and we're not big on being the salespeople. We're big on showing you the value of the time you're going to save in doing this type of thing. And it really goes back to our mission. Let a robot do what a robot can do, and a human do what only a human can do. Everything we do circles around that phrase, and we don't stray from that. And that's what
Correct.
this is doing to help your firm. All right. I posted the link in the chat to schedule that demo call. If you schedule that demo call, if it turns out to be something more where you want more than just a demo of this for your firm, that's going to set it up where you can get on a longer discovery call to go into deeper needs that you might have that we could assist you with. But the demo call is just for this, how it could work into your firm and how it would fit. All right. I am going to stop the recording and we're going to go into Q&A, and we have a little more time for Q&A today, which is really nice.